The stench of corruption in government. Steve Bannon sentenced to 4 months in prison. Says, remember, this is an illegitimate regime. Their judgment day is on the 8th of November when the Biden administration ends, Bannon told reporters. I say this is the stench of corruption because they are giving 4 months to Steve Bannon because he did not comply with a subpoena for a reason. He says that Donald Trump asserted executive privilege, meaning that communications he had with the president are for that branch and privileged, that the legislative branch does not get access to them. They argued he does not, and now he's going to prison. Well, for the time being, Steve Bannon is not going to jail pending appeal, which he may actually win. And this is a constitutional question that must be answered. Does executive privilege extend beyond the term of the sitting president? It must. It has to. Otherwise, there is no executive privilege. Well, the president's out of office. Now we get to know everything he said about everything relating to his presidency. No. Here's what may happen. Steve Bannon's appeal will go up to the higher courts, eventually make its way to the Supreme Court, where they will say, nah, he's got executive privilege. Donald Trump has executive privilege. But it's not just about that. I mean, that's a big issue dealing with constitutional questions, but I believe that we're looking at overt corruption here for one simple reason. Hunter Biden is not going to jail. I mean, that's it. There's a lot more to this. Evidence of 459 crimes was just sent to every member of Congress, crimes committed by Hunter Biden, and we're likely not going to see anything. They may go after Hunter Biden on, say, the gun charge where he falsified a document. I believe that's what the report is. Or maybe some tax stuff. That is their grounds to then go after Donald Trump and be like, look, we're playing fair. But the reality is we have tons of evidence of Hunter Biden committing serious crimes, be it the less dramatic, like he's doing drugs and hooking up with ladies of the night. But there's also questions about his international business dealings and what Joe Biden knew. While this is happening, we have, rampant crime throughout the cities, represented by Democrats, only getting worse. Crime is skyrocketing. You have pro-life activists being arrested. And of course, the left says, but they broke the law. The law says you can't go out in front of a Planned Parenthood and protest. Ah, yes, indeed. The law also says you can't go in front of a Supreme Court justice's home and protest, but we saw how they got away with that. The law is being applied only in one direction. So we will see. Is Steve Bannon correct that the 8th of November is when the Biden administration ends? Sorry, Steve. I think some good things will come about on November 8th. But if you think this is the end of the Biden administration, I'd say it's a rallying cry. He's trying to get people to go out and vote, and I can respect that. But I'm not convinced that the Republicans are going to be able to do a whole lot. We may get some America First Republicans, which is a good thing, some MAGA Republicans who actually care about this country. Good thing. So for that, okay, I hear what you're saying, Steve. But the corruption in the DOJ is insane. Absolutely insane. And I'll lay it out for you. While people are being shot at in Chicago, the feds are going after pro-life activists and ignoring the threats against the families of the Supreme Court. Why? I don't know. Maybe because they're at odds politically. Perhaps that's the issue. So November 8th, it's an important day, but voting's happening now. Early voting is happening now. Turnout is already through the roof. This should get very, very interesting. And maybe Steve Bannon is also right when he says that Merrick Garland will be impeached, the AG. Maybe Republicans will get in. Maybe we'll actually see some movement. And then maybe there will be some accountability and justice. I wouldn't hold my breath, but at the very least, you have to try. So get out there and vote. Get your friends registered to vote. It may be too late now for that, but you just get everybody to go vote. Make sure you get it done. Let's read the news. Before we do, head over to timcast.com if you want to read the news, but also to click the Join Us button and become a member to support our journalists, our field reporting, and our original content. As a member, you'll get access to the Timcast IRL members only show, uncensored, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m., as well as the Cast Castle vlog and Tales from the Inverted World. And we have more shows coming for you. We are working hard to build culture, and I think we're doing what we can. Maybe it'll take 10, 20 years, who knows? But I got big plans. With your support, we can launch movies. We've already got people pitching us scripts. We can change the culture. We can make fun things, and we can say no to corruption. Timcast.com. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Here's the story, the breaking news from today. Steve Bannon sentenced to 4 months in prison. Christopher Burton, reporting for timcast.com, says former Trump White House chief strategist Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison on Friday after failing to comply with a subpoena from Congressional January 6 committee. The sentence will reportedly be stayed if Biden and team file an appeal before November 15th, which they are doing. Judge Carl Nichols says Bannon has, quote, yet to demonstrate that he has any intention to comply with a subpoena, appearing to agree with the Department of Justice. However, Nichols agreed the criminal prosecution fell within Bannon's favor because the committee had not immediately attempted to enforce it. That's interesting. Nichols countered Bannon's executive privilege claim, citing the former President Trump advisor was a private citizen at the time of the riot on January 6th. But he was talking to the president, and they want information relating to the president. That's an interesting argument. This should go to the Supreme Court. Quote, some of the information sought by the subpoena is information under which no conceivable claim of executive privilege could have been made, said the judge of Bannon, who previously asserted his charges fell under the privilege. Nichols noted, however, Bannon appeared to be following legal advice and acknowledged he had, in fact, engaged with the January 6th committee. So why 4 months in prison? This is good faith across the board. Let me tell you my thoughts. Not a constitutional scholar, not a lawyer, so throw it in the trash if need be. But executive privilege should extend to private citizens. The president can't contract advisors because those communications are up for grabs. The president needs to be able to have conversations. Look, they're going after Trump's lawyers. That's the crazy thing. And there was a judge that said Trump's legal communications are not privileged because they pertain to a crime. What do you think lawyers do? So when someone's accused of a crime, and the lawyer talks to him and says something like, here's our defense, tell me what happened. And the guy tells him, the lawyer's supposed to be like, whoa, you're talking about a potential crime here. I better give all of our communications to the government. That's the opposite of what's supposed to happen. That's why we have legal privilege. Quote, executive privilege could not possibly permit the defendant's total noncompliance, asserted U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves, who previously recommended Bannon pay a $200,000 fine along with serving 6 months in prison due to bad faith, defiance, and contempt in a sentencing memo. The memo continued. The defendant was a private citizen who had not worked at the White House for years. The subpoena's demands sought records and information wholly unrelated to the defendant's tenure there, and multiple categories of the subpoena were completely unrelated to communications with the former president. From the time he was initially subpoenaed, Bannon has shown that his true reasons for total noncompliance have nothing to do with the purported respect for the Constitution, the rule of law, or executive privilege, and everything to do with his personal disdain for members of Congress sitting on the committee and their effort to investigate the attack on our country's peaceful transfer of power. His noncompliance has been complete and unremitting. We got a legal argument here. They were seeking communications they claim are unrelated to the former president, but they don't know because they don't have the communications. So please spare me. How would you? So look, I'll put it this way. Let's say you came to me and said, Tim, you had a conversation with some people last week. We want those communications. And I said, that involves the president. And then you say, no, it doesn't. Okay, well, how would you know I haven't given you the conversations? You see, therein lies the problem. Fishing expedition. I would have to give up evidence proving if the president himself comes out and says, I exert executive privilege when it comes to this, and Bannon's lawyers advise him to abide by that, then on what grounds are they arguing this information is nothing to do with the president? Well, we'll see it adjudicated. I think it needs to be. I think, criminal charges are the wrong way to go about this. This should go through the appellate courts to make a decision. I don't see why Bannon should go to prison for following advice on administrative issues. Bannon faced 2 counts of contempt of Congress, each which carry a maximum of 30 days in prison, along with a fine of $100,000 to $100,000. So how did he end up with 4 months if the max is 30 days? In my view, the statute sets out a mandatory minimum of 1 month and a mandatory maximum of 12 months, said Nichols. Quite frankly, Mr. Bannon should make no apology. No American should make an apology for the way Mr. Bannon proceeded in this case, said David Schoen, Bannon's attorney. There is nothing here to deter. There is nothing here to punish. Remember, this is an illegitimate regime, Biden told reporters before his sentencing. Their judgment day is on the 8th of November, when the Biden administration ends. By the way, and remember, take down the CCP. Bannon is the first political figure to be found guilty of contempt of Congress since Attorney General Richard Kleindienst and Watergate burglar G. Gordon Liddy were convicted In 1974, the outlet noted. We'll see what happens. I will stress this is an issue of, this outright, this is the courts. This is the legislative branch. But this is an issue of legislation to break down what, if anything, is executive privilege. That's fair. So, okay. I think that first what should happen is Bannon should argue his case. It should go to the appellate courts, eventually maybe the Supreme Court. If he loses, they should then say, okay, now you must abide by this subpoena. Then I'd like to hear Bannon's argument. For what reason, after the courts determine it is not executive privilege, will you claim you can't testify or turn over information? But to say 4 months suspended until the appeal, a little over the top. I think it's political. I think the goal is an October surprise so that they can run, Steve Bannon, Trump's advisor, going to prison. That's the game they want to play. Here's the game they won't play. Evidence implicating Hunter Biden in 459 crimes was just sent to every member of Congress. The report was produced following a 13-month investigation into material found on Hunter's laptop. Oh boy, here it is. Every single member of the U.S. Congress, both House and Senate, has just received a report chronicling a total of 459 documented violations of state and federal law, which were found in the laptop of President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Do you think we're going to see any action in this regard? Sorry, the answer is going to be a no. But, maybe it'll be a slap on the wrist, a fraction of what it's supposed to be, so they can justify going after Trump. Here it is. Quote, the report is a simple but extremely thorough roadmap for who needs to be subpoenaed, for which time frames, and for what types of crimes. Garrett Ziegler, founder of the firm Marco Polo, which just finished conducting a 13-month investigation into the laptop's contents, told The Sun. Ziegler is a former official of the Trump White House, Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, and says he launched the investigation to do some of the heavy lifting for Republicans who may wish to hold hearings on the matter, should they retake the House and or Senate in the 2022 midterms. Our number one goal is to ensure that Republicans don't waste time. Right now, people still don't know the entirety of what's on the laptop in terms of crimes, which is what my nonprofit cares about. This report finally answers that question. So Republicans can go back and say they still need to look at what's on the laptop. All we're seeking is the equal application of the law. Well, here. News of the shocking material found in the Biden laptop emerged prior to the 2020 election after Hunter left his computer at a repair shop. This we all know. Big tech companies worked fervently to prevent the public from knowing about the contents of Hunter's hard drive, which could be used to blackmail Joe Biden. Facebook head Mark Zuckerberg admitted to intentionally suppressing news of the laptop at the behest of the FBI, no less. Twitter suspended the account of the New York Post, which published the story, just 3 weeks before the 2020 election. That suspension followed Twitter blocking users from sharing or sending a link to the article on their platform. These people are evil. They're evil people. Hunter Biden committed crimes. Twitter helped cover that up. Oh, but wait, the corruption knows no bounds. How about this one? Biden administration may freeze Musk's Twitter acquisition, citing national security. Oh, we can't know about the illegal goings-on at Twitter, can we? And there it is. When Elon Musk finally started getting close to gaining control of Twitter, something funny happened. The Biden administration is contemplating intervening and stopping Elon Musk from acquiring Twitter. Why? In my opinion, there is evidence on Twitter of government corruption, violations of the Constitution, things that would make your stomach turn. Here we go. After the 2020 election, the Media Research Center polled 1,750 Biden voters in all 7 swing states. Survey data showed that not only were 45% of Biden voters unaware of the scandal, but had those voters known, 9.4% of them would have abandoned Biden, flipping all 6 swing states. There you go. Twitter, Facebook, they colluded, they suppressed pertinent information. And that's dirty politics. There it is. Stars and Stripes. A look into the claims that bank reports show Hunter Biden committed serious crimes. Sure. Whatever, man. At the very least, the reports exist. And what should happen next is these should go to the DOJ for prosecution. It's not going to happen, though, is it? We will never get justice or accountability. Not unless we win and we get real America First candidates in office after November 8th. Those individuals will then need to start filing subpoenas, investigating, calling people to testify. We need this. We need Hunter Biden and Joe Biden hearings. From Politico. The real reason Trump and Hunter Biden might not get indicted. Prosecutors aren't robots. They have wide discretion when it comes to deciding whether to indict someone. You see, here's what's going to happen. First, the story from Politico. They want to conflate Trump and Hunter Biden. What did Trump do? I will wait to hear what Trump did. Oh, nothing. You don't have anything. That's how it's always been. You have nothing on Donald Trump. Oh, I know. There are some questions about Russia. That was fake. Ukraine Gate. That was fake. Really? Donald Trump trying to promote his properties through a State Department website. We saw that, I think, in Scotland. Okay, that was bad. I'm interested to see what that was, but that doesn't sound like criminal. It sounds just like administrative, like ethics violation. Trump wanted to get the G7 at Doral, his golf resort. He walked that back when there was outrage even from his own base. So what do you got? I hear all the time from the left, they're like, Trump's crimes must be answered. And I'm like, which ones? What are you talking about? Seriously, present any. No. Because there aren't any. They tried claiming it was Ukraine Gate, that Trump was trying to pressure a foreign leader and all that. Get out of here, man. It's just so stupid. Let me show you the latest example. Federal judge finds that Trump lied under oath about voter fraud in Georgia while trying to overturn the 2020 election results. Well, by the sound of that headline, it sounds that a federal judge has proven Trump lied under oath. No, they're lying to you again, as they always do. Read the story and you'll understand. Let me show you. They say, a federal judge said Wednesday that former President Donald Trump lied under oath about voter fraud in Georgia while trying to get the state's 2020 election results overturned. U.S. District Judge David Carter made a determination in a ruling ordering the conservative lawyer John Eastman to turn over to the House Select Committee investigating January 6th a batch of his communications related to Trump and his allies' efforts to subvert the election. On December 4th, 2020, Trump's legal team filed a lawsuit in Georgia alleging that Fulton County had miscounted thousands of votes. It also contested the state's court proceedings in federal court. But later that month, according to Carter's ruling, Eastman said in an email that while Trump had signed a verification for the state court filing on December 1st, he has since been made aware that some of the allegations and evidence proffered by the experts has been inaccurate. Eastman added, for him to sign a new verification with that knowledge and incorporation by reference would not be accurate. So, did Donald Trump lie under oath? No. The judge is lying to you. That's right. I'll say it. That's a lie. It's politics. If I go to you and I say, there are 5 lights, and you say, there's clearly 4, and I go, you're mistaken. There's 5. And then you sign a sworn statement saying there are 4 lights. Did you lie under oath? No. Just because I made you aware that there were 5 lights does not mean you lied. In fact, in that argument, there were 4 lights. But let me tell you this. If a lawyer goes to Trump and says, Trump, there are 4 lights, I assure you of it. Trump can just say, you're wrong. I don't believe you. That doesn't mean you're lying, which is why perjury charges are so difficult to go against, or to try. Here we go. Trump and his lawyers still filed their complaint citing those numbers, and Trump signed a letter swearing under oath that the incorporated inaccurate numbers are true and correct, or believed to be true and correct. You see? Trump says he believed it was to be. This is why they don't go after this stuff. I have seen people who've believed stupid things, okay? But if they really believe it, how do you prove they didn't? He added, the email showed that Trump knew the specific numbers of voter fraud were wrong, but continued to tout those numbers both in court and to the public. It doesn't mean he knew. It means someone told him. But if I tell you the sky is green, you don't got to believe me. Now, I think Trump is wrong, hands down. Don't get me wrong. I don't know about the specific numbers he cited. I think I really don't care for the fraud narrative. I think if you want to talk about procedural changes, vote by mail, ballot harvesting, let's talk about it. Fine. But I don't like the idea about like manufactured votes and fake ballots from China and watermarking. Like, come on. We can get nuance in those conversations. But I just think Trump had bad info. I don't think he's lying. And that's the game they play. Wednesday wasn't the first time Carter suggested the former president committed a crime in connection with his crusade to undermine the election. In a March ruling, the judge said Trump likely obstructed Congress, a felony, when he tried to disrupt the election certification process on January 6th. How did he do that? He said, we got to count on Mike Pence and we're going to march peacefully. Those things are protected by the Constitution. Carter pointed out the dozens of lawsuits Trump campaign and his Republicans filed in court. How is it a crime to file in court? That's literally what you're supposed to do. After filing and losing more than 60 suits, this plan was a last-ditch attempt to secure the presidency by any means. The ruling saying, adding that the illegality of the plan was obvious. Welcome to the Banana Republic, my friends, when filing court cases is considered criminal. Did Trump file and lose more than 60 suits? Now, I don't know the exact number. What I can tell you is that most of the lawsuits that were filed in relation to the election were on procedural grounds. Some were on fraud. They were dismissed based on standing, not merit. Not all of them, but many of them. That means if you throw a pie at me, a random person can't sue you because they don't have standing. They were not an injured party. I would have to do it. The argument that when Donald Trump filed these suits claiming procedural issues, they said you aren't one of the voters. You aren't from that state and you have no standing here. That's a really interesting way to put it. They say Trump and Eastman launched a campaign to overturn a Democratic election, an action unprecedented in American history. Their campaign was not confined to the ivory tower. It was a coup in search of a legal theory. Great. It's politics, baby. It's all politics. Let's talk politics. Somehow, this is from Austin Allred. Somehow I missed that when Biden announced a pardon for everyone in prison for federal marijuana possession, the pardon applies to literally no one. The Marshall Project says there is no one currently in federal custody for simple possession of marijuana. In fact, it will lead to none getting out of prison. Here we go. But this is what you will get when you vote Democrat. Convicted killer, freed from prison by Fetterman-backed district attorney, now wanted for murder. Yo, I'm all about non-violent offenders getting released on house arrest. I'll tell you the solution. Someone commits a crime, even a first offense that may be a lesser tier violent crime. House arrest. I know. Some people may not agree. You feel free to argue. Here's what I mean. If you grab someone's purse and run, that's violent. That's a violent crime. But it's not like you pointed a gun in their face, threatened to kill them. You just snatched their purse. That person, ankle monitor, house arrest. Somebody who shoplifts, ankle monitor, house arrest. Put the costs on them, not us. When we send these people to jail, we got to foot the bill. I don't care about that. Somebody commits a murder or is accused of murder. Okay, bail hearing. I'm in favor of remand if there's a preponderance of evidence. I don't like the idea that innocent people, without being proven, will be withheld, but we have to balance, as much as people don't hear, there are security issues and freedom issues. I think the issue is if there's a preponderance of evidence showing that you may have committed a serious violent crime, then we got to lock you up. We do. And then you can have your court case and you're found innocent. Then I believe there should be restitution. I believe there should be laws protecting people who are currently awaiting trial. They shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to lose your job or something like that because the state's accusing you of something and we're scared. I believe that the detention centers for people who are remanded should be as comfortable can get. If the state accuses you of murder and says a preponderance of evidence suggests it, but we've not proven it beyond a reasonable doubt, I believe your detention center should be that of a hotel room. And let me tell you, if we put people on house arrest, they got to eat their own food. They can't leave the house. Then eventually, after a certain amount of time, we say, okay, you can leave your house for work. You see how this works? We save money. With the money we save, we put it into detention. Then, if somebody is accused but not proven guilty, we're trying to balance this here, right? Instead, this is what you get with Democrats. They just let a convicted killer out and then he goes and kills somebody. He's accused of it. Bro, here's Chicago. Shocking video shows Windy City gunmen hanging out of car and randomly shooting with paramedics taking cover in their ambulance. I talked about this the other day. That's Chicago for you. When you're in Chicago, you're not going to get mugged every day. You're not going to get attacked. But periodically you'll be driving and someone will start shooting at you. It happened to me only once in my life. You know, so I'm saying it's not like it's every single time. But I've been shot at in Chicago more than once. I've had to run from gunshots. I mean, It just happens. That's a part of Chicago. How about we lock these people up and people who are nonviolent offenders get put on house arrest? How about if you're accused of a crime, instead of putting you in jail, like let's say you're accused of shoplifting or something and you can't pay bail. That's so dumb. House arrest. Plain and simple. It's going to be cheaper, dude. Why do we got to have these jammed up prisons and pay all these bills? No. You stay home. You don't go anywhere. The company shouldn't be, your job should be protected. Look, I'm a liberal. I think in that regard, the company should put you in a holding pattern and say, you shouldn't be fired simply because the state made an accusation. It should not be held against you. But for these crimes, instead of being locked up, just go home. Now, if you're homeless, okay, well, then we got an issue. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, all right? But maybe then you go to jail or something like that, or we put you in some kind of detention center, which is more akin to an apartment. You can't leave. Let me show you what's going on. Paul Vaughn, pro-life father of 11, arrested by FBI, speaks out. It's all very shocking. No one can believe the federal government would do something like this. Bro, please, come on. You've been paying attention. You know they can. You know Merrick Garland can. While they're arresting pro-life protesters. Why? Well, they violated this. There's a law here, okay? They say about a year and a half ago, a small group that prayed regularly outside the Carafem abortion business in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, gathered at the facility for what they call a rescue. The focus of that march was prayer. More than a year passed. Then at 7 a.m. on October 5th, the FBI showed up at the home of Paul Vaughn to arrest him. 4 federal agents pounded on the Vaughn front door. Another agent walked around the family's yard, apparently told 2 of the Vaughn's 11 children, waiting for their father to drive them to school. Their dad was about to be arrested. One child ran in crying, "The FBI is here and they're arresting Daddy." In a video taken by Vaughn's wife, she asks, "I want to know why you're banging on my door with a gun. You're not going to tell me why you're here." An agent responds, "No, we are not. I tried." "No, you didn't. You didn't try." Referring to the day in question, Mount Juliet Police Captain Tyler Chandler told the Wilson Post, a local newspaper, that people have assembled in front of the building since the opening of the women's medical facility that originally provided medication abortions and expanded its services. Since the facility opened, people have been allowed to peacefully protest here and have done so. This event was the first time they have actually went inside the building and refused to leave. Mount Juliet Police Chief James Hambrick told the Wilson Post, "Our aim was not to arrest. We had a good dialogue. We're just glad everything went as peaceful and orderly as it did." The morning of the FBI raid, Vaughn was taken from his home to a federal holding facility and given a lawyer. Vaughn has since notified the court of his change of legal representation to the Thomas More Society. Vaughn said it wasn't until the end of the 6 hours at the federal facility that the charges were explained. It's all very shocking. Thomas More Society attorneys now defending Vaughn against alleged violations, commonly known as the FACE Act, freedom of access to clinic entrances. The Biden administration, that's what they're being charged with. The Biden Department of Justice claims that Vaughn is guilty of conspiracy against rights secured by the FACE Act. All right. That's the point. A total of 11 people have been arrested with charges regarding the same date. Okay. You may be saying that, and I just want to pause. Guys, National Catholic Register, put the charges right in the front so we know what's going on. Don't make me read your narrative first. It's not. Anyway, here's the Washington Post. Yes, experts say protests at SCOTUS justices' homes appear to be illegal. Who got arrested? Nobody. Do you see now what's happening before your very eyes? Do I need to make it clearer for you? I don't know how. May 11th, people illegally protested at judges' homes in violation of the law to stop bias in the courts. Nothing. Pro-life protesters went inside a clinic and prayed and then left. Everything. And more than a year later. I hope you're paying attention. There's a First Amendment right to protest. I can understand the arguments for both of these circumstances. Medical facilities being obstructed can be dangerous, especially if you don't know the exact reason why the woman or individual is at this medical facility. Blocking that, I don't agree with. Now, there's challenges because, it's abortion. It's not the same as like someone going to an ER. But if your argument is that people should have access to medical facilities and you shouldn't be able to block their entrance, okay, I can agree with that. If you're going to argue that you shouldn't be able to protest at a judge's home because if judges can't be free from political pressures, they can't administer the law, I actually agree with that. The argument for the law on judges' homes is that you can't have constitutional freedoms if judges can be swayed. These are appointments, not politicians. They're not elected. Some of them are, but the Supreme Court judges, federal judges. How can they administer justice if they're being threatened? You see? So certainly there's an argument as to why one thing comes first. But it's only being administered in one direction. And that's the name of the game, and it's what we've been experiencing for some time. I don't have all the answers for you, my friend, other than the corruption is all around us. Elon Musk may figure out what's going on with Twitter. And I told you guys how much you want to bet. How much you want to bet. Elon Musk sits down with Twitter and says, let's buy it. They say, okay. They sign the contracts. Upon the signing of the contract, they say, now you have access to all of our information. Lo and behold, what does Elon see? National security letters mandating bots and other extreme actions on Twitter. And they say, you see, it's the government. And Elon says, I'm not buying that. I say, too bad. You can't back out now because you can't expose this information and you have no grounds for termination. So what does Elon try to do? He tries to get them to be forced to admit it with his claims about bots. They resist. The judge says, no, Elon, you got to do it. And Elon says, fine, I'll do it. Calling the bluff, the national security national security sector. Now, to defend the illicit, corrupt activities going on at Twitter, the Biden administration may intervene and stop the acquisition outright. Elon Musk calling their bluff. I'm not saying it's true and definitive. I'm saying, what if? I genuinely believe there's a strong possibility that's the case, and that's why we're now seeing it. The Biden administration is corrupt beyond all recognition. I have laid it out for you. I hope you realize how serious this is. I don't know what this means, but for the love of all that is holy, you need to go and vote. You need to tell each and every one of your friends and family members, you need to go and vote. That's it. To all the naysayers, to all those who have doubts, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? Go out and vote. Trust me, if every single person did, you would win. We'll see how that plays out with Bannon. Appeal coming soon. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.